Alright, so here's my summer intern and internship advice presentation. So this summer I worked for PCL Construction, Pool Construction Limited. PCL is a GC, which stands for General Contractor. So basically, like Mr. Collins explained it earlier in the previous class, but basically we're the 800-pound gorilla of construction. So all the subcontractors, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, they all come to us. And concrete and painting, they all come to us for the project. So we oversee everything. The only people that do not work with us really are the architects and the structural engineers. We work with them, but they don't work under us. So here's a little bit about me. I'll go through this fast. I'm Anson. I'm from Chino Hills, California. I go to UCLA. I major in civil, and I expect to grad in 2028. So at PCL. So why PCL? So I found PCL at my ASCE career fair, which stands for American Society of Civil Engineering. At UCLA, I'm part of that club, and every quarter or every fall, winter, or spring, they host a little career fair for civil engineers specifically, and this is where I found them. I just found them at the table. They're an employee-owned company, so what that means is, so you know stocks, how they're open to the public as long as you're above the age of 18 and you're just an adult. You can invest into stocks. Well, PCL and a lot of other big construction companies out there, they're employee-owned, so what that means is their stocks are only open to employees. So when you work for them, you're able to reap the benefits of the profits of the company, basically on top of your salary. So that's how you keep up with the money and the moolah at the time. But as an intern, I don't get the shares yet, so that's for the future. And some of the things at PCL that I thought were really cool, where they had some super cool projects. Some of them were we're doing the Universal Studios Fast and Furious project. We're also doing the Coco ride at Disneyland, and the Avatar one at Disneyland as well. And we also did LAX Conrack, which I'll talk a little about later. And also at PCL, we had a very hospitable and welcoming family culture, which I appreciate. So here's some of my responsibilities. So one of the major things I did this summer was I worked on estimating, and a little bit about estimating if you don't know what it is. Basically, let's say there's a project, or this classroom, for example, we want to build a new classroom, right? And there's the things that go into the site are the concrete, that's the lights, the plumbing, and all that stuff, the painting, whatever, right? And as an estimator, you have to do a line item, or you have to basically count the square footage and how much of each material we need. And from that material count, we make a price. And from that price, we also ask the subcontractors, like mechanical, plumbing, electricity, their price for it, and we bid it. So bidding is like an auction from the owner. So let's say Miss Yarboy is the owner. She's the one that's going to be look at everyone. So let's say PCL is a GC, then Mr. Doherty is another GC, and Mr. Collins is a GC. And let's say I have the lowest price. Miss Yarboy is usually going to pick me because it's the cheapest. So that's how bidding and estimating works. Another thing I did this summer as well was the LACCD or LACD College Cafeteria Project, which I'll also show pictures of later. And you can't have an internship without classic internship work. So I went on a Trader Joe's run with my friend here and bought 5 bags of Trader Joe's food for the entire company and stuff. But yeah. So here are some things I learned over the summer. So Cortex is basically a historical data analysis software we use for estimating. It looks at the past projects that we've done and allows us to better improve our prices and takeoffs for future projects. I became a Cortex champion this summer, so basically it's like a certification for uploading projects and working in estimating. And I uploaded around 7 projects, including stuff for the airports and Universal projects. Some other things I learned was takeoffs and recaps, which are basically just, they're just basically, after estimating what you do, a takeoff. A recap is when you're done bidding a project, you want to recap with the subcontractors. Oh, is this the true price that you're giving to us, and could you give us a lower price, or we'll get a different subcontractor to work with us, basically. Another thing was RFI postings, which I'll also talk about later. RFI stands for Request for Information, and basically let's say the architect messes up. So let's say Mr. Collins messes up his drawing.
Impossible.
He messes up his drawing, it's this wall right here is it's supposed to be, he says it's green, but we're or he doesn't put a color for it at all, and we're oh, what color is this? That's what an RFI is. We can't paint the wall, we can't build the wall without knowing what color it is and what we're supposed to do with it. And I also did field work as well. A little thing about drone deploy is basically, so there's 2 parts to drone deploy. One of them is you need a drone certification first off to fly the drone above the site and take site photos, so it's from the top down view. But another thing, a part of drone deploy is when the site is being built, you walk around with the 360 camera and take the camera on and look around the site. And on that project, I'll show you another picture later as well. One of the things I learned as well was early hours, especially as a PE. For that project that I worked on, I think I had to get up around 4 a.m. and be at work at 5. But the good thing about working early, especially for a GC, is that you get off work at 1 p.m. so you get to go home early. But yeah. So this is Stack, which is an estimating software. So if you ever heard of Bluebeam or Revit, this is what we use with Stack. You do like a manual takeoff, so you measure the square footage, you put a price on it, and these are the prices they take off. And then you put it on an Excel sheet, and then you send it over to the owner, and that's how they check your overall price. And then this is just an unfilled RFI, because I can't actually show you guys a filled one. This is where the question goes, and this is where the response from the architect or the owner goes. And there's like certain processes and the way you have to ask the question with an attachment, because sometimes the architects will say like, oh, they'll be like, oh, this drawing is like, why is this not painted, And they'll be like, oh, what drawing is it? But we would be like, oh, you made the drawing though, so you should know where it is. And they're like, no, you need to tell me where it is. So then you have to tell them where it is. So that's one of the major gripes with RFIs. And like Jose said, asking for a change order and changing the sheets and drawings takes forever. Like usually, sometimes they get back within a week, sometimes it takes 2 months, 3 months, or even the entire year. So that's another issue.
You can have anywhere between 1,000 and 10,000 sheets in any given project.
Yeah.
It's a lot of documentation.
Yeah. And so here's some site photos as well from my internship. This is at UCLA Gailey. We're building a new dormitory, so this is me at the top. Not the exact, it's not fully built yet, but this is the level 3 of it. So you can see the rebar and the columns there are steel columns with rebar going up. And then on the floor here, it's filled with plywood and hoist, which basically hold the floor up while we place the rebar, and we're going to cover it with concrete in the next couple of months. But when I first started school, last year, it was literally just a big hole in the ground, and it was just filled with shoring and dirt. So I was like, just from a year later, I'm visiting as my internship, and then it's already like 3 levels up, so that's really cool to see. And this is the cafeteria project I'm talking about. As you can see, like, it's kind of fully built, but in this image, it's a little bright outside, but right here, it's just dark, because I'm here at 5 in the morning working. But yeah, that's another thing too, that's pretty cool.
And that's on your site.
Yeah, this is on my site, so these are site photos.
So you'll be able to go from his classes to go check out the job
yeah,
site.
This one right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dorm was right there.
Pretty cool.
So another thing, one of the things you do as well, if you work as an intern is, I had an intern service project that we did. So it's a community service project where we give back to the community. So what we did was we built little libraries. I don't know if you heard of them, but they're like these little like bookshelves that you kind of place around for the community, and you put books in. You put a book and you take one out. We built 4 of them, 3 in Linwood, 1 in Bell Gardens in LA. We acquired paint and wood from subcontractors, so we only had like a $100 budget, so the whole goal was for us to act as superintendents. And what a superintendent is basically a project overseer. So we watch over the project, we make sure that the subs are doing what they're supposed to do and everything goes accordingly. So that's how we were able to get our materials. These are our mentors that helped us, and it took us around 12 hours to build. And we built it all by hand. We cut the wood, we painted the wood, we bought, like got the plywood and the paint from the subs and everything, and we built our own plans. So this is all like intern made, I guess. And one of the important things, especially in construction as well, or just any engineering, is quality control and staying on brand, especially with your company. You don't want to mess up something or just be off brand or whatever, because people are going to be like, who made this or whatever. It's going to look like shabby, I guess, or yeah. And so here's some other pictures of our intern service project, and then these are some of the little libraries being built. And then this is some other intern stuff. And this is Concrete National. A lot of companies use National Concrete because they're the #1 sustainable concrete plant in LA, I think. And then some takeaways of my internship is just the feeling of belonging. As an intern or as a first year intern, you'd think that people would like kind of shun me because I don't really know anything. But usually a lot of companies, well, good companies are willing to accept and teach you. So I learned a lot from this internship, especially the difference between office and construction life and student to employee. You'll realize that once you get to college, or even now, you will probably enjoy working at 9 to 5 more than being in school, because school is low-key buns. But, yeah. And another thing is civil engineering and construction management differences. As a high schooler as well, I used to think civil engineering and like structural engineering all fell under the same category as CM, but CM is its own completely different thing. Whereas we manage the project and see it built all the way from the ground up versus structural where you just draw the plans and you're done with it. And another thing that's important that Jose also very much emphasized on is connections. Keeping connections and staying connected like with Mr. Collins or Doherty or even like people that you intern with is very important, because even from my internship as well, my manager, he basically told me like, we want you back, but if you want to do a structural engineering internship that we heard you were interested in, we have like 5-6 companies that would be willing to like intern you. So that's like another one of the things, like people will like send you here and there, like everywhere basically the moment you meet them if they like you. And another important thing that I learned from my company was their motto, together we build success, because without a strong company and a strong team, you can't really get anywhere. And so on to internship advice. Jose also expanded on this more, but this is just my kind of take on it. So Mr. Collins is the GOAT, and Mr. Doherty is the GOAT too. I didn't know Mr. Doherty was going to be here, sorry. I would have added a picture, my fault. But, like, it's good, you need to stay with this program. I'm telling you right now, like, one of the main reasons why I even got into UCLA was through ACE mentorship and just this program as a whole. Because it really gets you a head start, as I'll show later. You need to make a solid resume and portfolio. Resumes are very important, but I feel like a lot of people do not have a portfolio or relatively a strong portfolio as well. So that's another kind of one thing that you want to show off as well, because it shows all your projects and things that you've done. Join ACE mentorship, like I said, if you're not in it already, you should probably join. It's really important and it's really good to just meet people as well, like the mentors, and just get a more hands-on experience outside of class. You also want to practice interviewing skills as well. So it was my first interview experience as well this summer for my internship. I asked my cousin who's, what's it called, a PM at Panda Express, interviewing advice, because he's really good at interviewing. And he he's basically just said, you want to be yourself. You don't want to read off a script or be you just want to talk as if you were having like a normal back-to-back conversation. And yeah, Jose also said too, another good indicator of an internship interview is when you go over, because I was over by 30 minutes and they just kept talking to me. And then they said, oh, we have another intern, so then they just lost it. That's how you know you basically locked it in. So clubs are also very important, especially in high school and more so in college. Since my school is more of a conceptual and not a hands-on school, you really have to force yourself to go out there and be in clubs. And not saying only my school, you need to go out there, every school you need to go out there and be in a club, because it's good for connections as well as just doing the hands-on experience. Another thing is that you get to meet professors as well that you get to work to, so also more connections. And there's a bunch of career fair opportunities, like I said, with ASCE and Engineering Without Borders, which is basically a project, it's a whole club where projects are made in other countries like Ethiopia, Colombia, Nicaragua, and Uganda, where we build projects for the less fortunate, basically. So here's my club. I don't know why the picture's like that, but this is called ASCE Seismic Design, where we build our own entire building out of balsa wood, and we put it on a shake table and do an earthquake test on it. So this year we went up to Berkeley and under EERI, Earthquake Engineering Research Institute, and they basically gave us like a simulated Tokyo or Kobe, Japan earthquake. So it was like an 8.5 magnitude test. So our building obviously survived because this is the aftermath, but that's like another fun thing that you get to do. And so you might recognize some of these pictures as well. Going into UCLA, I thought, oh, a lot of people would know software, right? No, nobody freaking knows. I was in my club and I was like, does anyone know Onshape? And I was like, me and some 30-year were the only ones that raised their hand. I was like, whoa. And then I was like, I asked my friend, you don't know Onshape? He's like, nah, I never heard of it before. I'm like, bro. So I'm telling you, if you're by being in this program, you'll be way ahead of the ball game. Onshape, SketchUp, and SolidWorks as well, which you'll probably transition to, are very important. This go-kart right here, even though I'm civil, I was in a little Fiat Lux or side class where it teaches you about electrical systems and just go. So we built our own go-kart from scratch, and it teaches you how to build it as well. And then also I use SolidWorks for the go-kart. So if you're interested in that too.
So Anson, you had stuff from our engineering program in the portfolio that you're referring to, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and Jose said the same thing when I saw in the spring, right?
It really gives you a boost because especially as a first year, if you go, at least some of my friends, they go in saying, oh yeah, I was in the physics club and I got a good GPA. That's everybody basically, right, who wants to do engineering. But by saying, oh, I was in CEA, ED, POE, ACE, and all this stuff, and say what you did in ACE, the project you did in ACE, and you're in CERT and whatever, that really pushes you over. It shows how you're different than everybody else. So that's another important thing.
I've had students go to UCLA and they take their engineering notebook and then they do a flex. They go to office hours at the beginning of the year and they kind of, because they want to introduce themselves outside of the classroom setting. And then they'll kind of have that on the table and the professor will see that and go and then want to take a look at it and then they look through it. And if you have a good notebook, that's when you do it. If you have a really messy, nasty notebook, don't do it. But in this case, this girl had a phenomenal notebook and the professor was he goes, oh wow, we're gonna have a good year, aren't we? And it was just immediately now you have cred, all right? You have reputation and it really kind of starts to differentiate you guys. So again, a lot of you are not gonna choose engineering, but you're still gonna get a lot of value of a lot of the things, the resume, the portfolio, because you just never know what might come in handy when you go to get an internship or a job, or you may pivot. I like to think that most of our students, because I keep in touch with them, I'm constantly nagging them, I'm still talking to alumni, and they're obviously coming back every year, so they want to be here. we want to make sure that we keep in touch with them so that we can continuously share with you guys important information. And it's evolving and changing. I mean, it's changed quite a bit since I started the program. So it's one of those things where, you know, they're giving you like right off the street what's going on, and I'm learning from them in many instances too. So I think it should work. Hopefully if you click on it, no, I think you might have to like touch it or something, or.
I think the key thing here, guys, is a lot of you should see our engineering program and think that it's just part of a regular high school. It's not part of a regular high school. Most high schools don't have these advantages, so take advantage, take advantage.
Yeah.
And another thing is as well is like if you're in what's it called, ACE mentorship, you might know like Mr. and Mrs. Arnold. They work with Hathaway Dinwiddie and they're also a GC.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're a competitor for PCL, but like my friend was gonna intern at Hathaway Dinwiddie, but you know.
Well, Mason was here,
Yeah.
and Mason did intern with them over the summer, and he is now, I was talking to him after ACE, he said, you know, because he's all architecture,
Yeah.
and then because of his internship, he's like, I might be going construction management. I go, hey, that's the process, you're gonna learn, and you don't learn unless you try new things. And so like what Mr. Doherty said about the different things about, you know, maybe learning about systems even though you're in aerospace, because systems is a whole nother degree, right? But you can still like vet and try different things, and that's the point, is you want to do that in high school as much as possible, you want to do that in college, so that by the time you're ready to kind of take that leap, you've already kind of tested, and you know, it's basically the design process in life, right? You have these constraints, you have these problems you want to solve, and you kind of figure it out along the way as you go. So that's why it's important to have these things and listen to people and talk to as many people, get their contact info and stay in touch with them, because they can share a lot of amazing things, like what clubs to join, what professors not to take, what are the effective ways. Like Jose put in his whole resume and he actually comments like what you should be putting in your resume. I mean, that's worth a lot in itself, right? Just that alone, so.
And also make a shout out as well. You please use Jose's resume, because I also use the same one too. I'm not gonna lie, so it actually works. But for an internship process, it's like a 3-step process. Like the first, to even get an internship or an interview, you need to have a good resume, so that's the first stepping way. But the interview, honestly, I feel like is more important, because if they realize that like you're not who you say you are on your resume and you can't speak well, then I'm like, we don't want you.
Yeah.
So you gotta make sure you have everything solid, not just one thing or the other.
That's really good advice. You have to be able to have a conversation with adults. You have to come off as not sounding, you know, less than professional, let's say, for example. You have to be able to ask, you know, good questions. You just have to have those really good conversations with adults where it's like, wow, this person's really impressive. I really, you know, I could see ourselves work, you know, I could see them on a team. I could see them getting along with people. If you're very quiet and you have a hard time talking to people, that's something you really want to push yourself to work better at, because like every year we get students that get interviews for certain private colleges, and their GPA could be 4.3, 4.4, 4.5, but if they lack the communication skills, they're not getting into those schools. And you see a lot of times even our top 10 students, they don't get into the schools they think they're going to get into because they can't pass the interview. They can take a test and they can score, but they can't, you know, so can a lot of people. But it's more effective, it's better for a company and a school to have people like this that are multidimensional and can actually talk and collaborate, as opposed to, here, answer all these questions right. Well, what does that help you with anything, right? So that's important information. Questions? Yes. Questions on civil engineering, UCLA? Yeah, in front of you.
For your internship, was there anything before the internship that gave you the impression it was gonna be good? Like you knew you were gonna have a good internship before you started?
Not really. Alright, so I didn't really expand upon this, but at my career fair, I low-key had like 102-degree fever, so I was like delirious walking around. But in my head, I was like, I need to go to this, because like Jose was telling me too, like, you need to go to every career fair, and I was like, yeah, I have to, because like, what are the chances, like, maybe I get one, maybe I don't. So I was like, let me just go and try, right? So I went over, and a lot of like the higher structural ones, like Caltrans and like Structural Focus, all these structural engineering companies, I would go up to them and they'd be like, oh, what year are you? And I say, oh, I'm a first year, and they're like, nah, you're like a bum, we don't want you, right? So I was like, damn. So then someone told me, oh, you should go to the construction like companies, right? And I said, okay, let me go. And their tables are like low-key empty, like no one wants to go to them because they're all looking for structural, right? So it's good to like just branch out and see these companies. And I went to them. They were like, so one of the major things that actually kind of made me like them more is, so a lot of the tables, like structural engineering tables I went to, I would talk to them and they would be very like just sitting there. And I would be like, aren't you supposed to like, this is supposed to be like a one-way, like two-way conversation, not me just yapping to you about like me, I guess. But then one of the things that stood out for me was, at least PCL, the HR department, when they were there, we were talking and it was like a back and forth, like, oh, what do you do, blah, blah, this is about me. And they'd be like, oh, like that's cool, like what do you mean like about ACE, like what is ACE to you, or whatever, blah, blah. But they also do ACE mentorship too in LA, so they're a part of our program and stuff. But yeah, that's how I kind of knew they were like pretty good, because I actually enjoyed talking to them rather than forcing myself to be someone who I'm not, I guess.
That's actually really good advice for me, because in a couple of weeks I'm going to be presenting at the California Environmental Education Conference for teachers. They have an annual conference, and they're like, they represent utilities and industry partners, and they're trying to figure out how do we get more people in water. Well, don't discourage the first year interns, don't disrespect, right? Because here's the thing, do you think now you want to do construction management more so than ever?
Yeah.
Look, so now you get like the cream of the crop of our school, because you know he went out with 103-degree fever, went to a job fair. Did you dress up for the job fair, by the way?
Yeah.
Ah, see, did you dress up for the job fair?
Oh yeah, I was wearing a
Yeah,
suit.
you have.
Another advice: don't show up in shorts and a flip flop and a Raising Cane's T-shirt. All right, represent. But no, that's important, because industry needs to kind of reevaluate, because they're complaining that they can't get top-notch students coming in, but some of them are waiting so long that they're now competing with all the juniors and seniors. But you want the passionate freshmen and sophomores, because now you have the ability to really get them excited about a career. So I think, to PCL's credit, they did an amazing job with understanding that and knowing how to approach a job fair and not be as standoffish. So again, I think that's good advice for you guys, is look for those companies that are engaging that. Don't always go to the table that has the most people at it too. I don't know if that was your experience, but did you do some homework on the companies prior to the job fair? Like look at the sheet and do some background research? Either one of you want to talk about that?
I looked a lot at structural companies just to realize that they don't want me. So I was like, man, might as well try to look at some random construction company. And they're like, I already want you. I said, really? And they're like, yeah. I was like, all right, cool. But yeah.
They're lost.
No, yeah, literally, like, before you walk up to the table, like, have it on your phone, like About Me page, like, literally all that is gold. Like, if you can say, like, oh, I saw you guys did this, I saw you guys did that, and you ask them questions, they're like, oh, shoot, this guy, like, actually cares about our company, and then, like,
Yeah, you should never go up to the table and say, what do you guys do? You should already know that.
Yeah.
And one
Any
thing
other questions?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go.
I just wanted to add something real quick that my manager told me, is that even if you're looking for a company, like let's say you want to do like a certain like discipline of engineering, like you can always change like me doing structural to CM. I just want to say that you want to look more for what the company has to offer, like salary and their bonuses, and how the company culture is compared to like let's say what you'll be doing. Because if the company is like bad, and then you're doing what you kind of like, but everyone treats you like shit, basically. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but
You know what? That's okay. That gives gravitas, emphasis. We're
yeah,
okay. You're an
you
adult.
prefer to work somewhere where you'd actually like to be rather than some random bum.
I think, did you talk about the ESOP a little bit?
Yeah, I talked a little bit about that.
All right, so FYI, do you guys know what an ESOP is? No. Okay, so PCL is an ESOP, an employee-owned company, which means that they are not owned by an equity firm, they are not owned by stockholders. The company is essentially owned by the employees. So employees receive different types of stock options that they hold. It's kind of internally held within the organization. And why is that important? Well, because if the company does really well, all of its employees get bonuses. And I'll give you an example. My daughter works for an architecture firm. They're an ESOP. And when they recruited her and hired her on, they said, okay, well, depending on how good the company is, you could earn anywhere from, let's say 10 to 20 or 30%, depending on your rank in the organization, of your annual salary. So let's say hypothetically you make $50,000 a year as a start entry level person. Engineering would probably be higher, closer to probably 60 or 70. So let's say you're making $70,000 and you get a 10% bonus. That's going to be a $7,000 additional. So now you're at $77,000, right? Because they had a good year. Maybe they had a fantastic year, right? And now you're making 20% off of 70. That's $14,000. So instead of 70, you're at $84,000. You see the importance of math and understanding simple multiplication and things like that, because it ties back to your salary. It ties into whether you decide to go with this company or another company. So if you are in a situation where you're choosing between two entities, you might want to do your research and talk to employees and understand what they are getting besides just their salary. What kind of benefits are they getting? Do they pay for you to go back to school to get your master's, your doctorate, right? Like if you work in a structural engineering firm, they'll probably want you to get a master's for sure, most likely even a doctorate, because they love saying, oh, we have Dr. So-and-so and Dr. So-and-so, right? General construction, probably not. Maybe at the most, maybe they want you to go get an MBA or something. So these are things that you should be aware of, okay? Because the last thing you want to do is spend the next 8 years or whatever going to college and you paying for everything. You want to make sure maybe a company will hire you and they'll pay for your future education as well. I think the internships was really important too, because like Jose said, he paid off his first year of college with his summer internship. No college debt. The other thing too is that many of you may not want to go to college, you want to go into the trades, okay? Well, guess what? The general contractors, they work with all the trades, and you could still be working within organizations like PCL, because I'm sure you guys have a lot of tradespeople on your staff. So these are things to continually explore. We're going to have some tradespeople come and talk to you guys as well. Don't dismiss the trades, because a lot of you could be in the trades making $100,000 in 2 to 3 years with no college debt. So other things to think about. All right, any last minute questions? You still have a little bit of time? No. Yeah.
Are you gonna go for masters, or like is the master's program at UCLA good?
I would say yeah. If you go past your graduate, probably other schools are better. Like UCLA is a very good undergrad school, but for masters and stuff, like I think better schools would be like Purdue and like all like Georgia Tech and all those schools have very good master's program. But honestly, as long as you get your master's and your FE and PE, like at least for PCL, like you don't need any of that. But for companies that where you do have it, you rise up the ranks a lot faster with your like certifications. Because especially with the PE, it basically means like, oh yeah, I can do all this engineering stuff and I'm certified, so I can put like a stamp on this building and say, okay, we're good. Versus finding someone else to do it or asking the owners to do it. So you can just do it yourself, basically. So that's why. But yeah, there's probably better schools, but UCLA has a good master's program.
Yeah, adding on to that, like whatever university you go to, like ideally it'll have a 4+1, so you only have to spend 1 year compared to like 2 or 3 at like an external. Within like aerospace companies, usually if you get your master's, you get paid like up to 20 grand more like per year if you have your master's. So like what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my master's at Cal Poly for another year, and then I'll come in and like make way more money because of that. So.
The other thing too, especially like in aero and even in mechanical, if you want to be on the design team, they typically want you to have a master's.
Yeah.
So that's a big differentiator. If you want to be on a design team, you're going to have that advanced degree.
There's
one more, I think.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask, how are you feeling about your next internship? Do you think you're gonna go back to PCL, or do you want to do like something completely different to see if you like that?
So originally this first year I was supposed to do field work, but they put me in estimating instead because they ran out of projects. But next year I'll probably be doing field engineering, so I'm on the site, like working like LACC 5 a.m. in the morning, whatever. But the big part that we're working on is the $1.9 billion project. It's the LA Convention Center. We're gonna be re-renovating it for the 2028 Olympics. So that's gonna be a really big project that they're gonna have like 10 interns on, and it'll probably last like a couple of years. So if you're by the time you're out of college and like, you know, you somehow come to PCL, I'll probably be there still. But there'll be a lot of like very important work for you to do, because in my opinion, estimating is very good because you get to work with the drawings and stuff, and you actually get to make, like you'll know how much each item costs and everything. But going on site is like a whole new experience, and also you don't have to like sit all day, which is like, I guess it's nice sometimes, but it's just like, it doesn't feel right. But yeah, but it's I'll probably be going next year for.
Yeah, we're really lucky because of the Olympics. The infrastructure projects in the design, engineering, and construction industry is going to be extremely busy and hiring at many levels. So, all right, thank you, gentlemen. Everyone, thanks for joining us today.